It's time to get the inside info on BYU with Cougar insider Mitch Harper of KSLSports.com on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Trajan Wealth brings you this portion of the program, TRAJANwealth.com, for all your trusted local needs in retirement. The Cut this hour brought to you by Trajan. Mitch Harper, quite a busy last 72 hours here. It's been a lot to cover this team, football and basketball-wise. Good time to be covering this team, Mitch, because these programs have signed up for long-term with their two biggest sports, with the most financial support that not only has this program ever seen, but most programs in the country have ever seen. How historic was a day like yesterday to get Kalani signed up for as long as they got him?
Appreciate you having me on, guys. And, yes, it was a historic evening for BYU last night. I'd say it was the biggest moment for BYU since the invitation to the Big 12 Conference, because BYU was able to, in a sense, leverage a blue blood brand and now say they want to become that too, and maybe, show their power and their potential as a athletic department and football program, that they're all in and they're going to be competing at a really high level. And then you follow up that with a top 20 recruiting class nationally that just officially signed Ryder Lyons, the highest rated recruit in the Kalani Sitake era. BYU football, BYU sports in general are invested at a level that I don't think anyone ever saw coming. I know, in my time following BYU, you thought it was possible that they had more money than maybe they put off because they were always running in the black as an athletic department, but this is a whole nother level. And BYU is, and I think they got the right guy to lead really what will be another era of BYU football with Kalani Sitake, because I pointed to this often, but every time that he's had a moment like this or made a change, it's always leveled up the BYU program. When he, was looking for a contract extension or some stability in 2019, BYU followed it up with a big 2020 season in the COVID year. And then 2021, he had actually two contract extensions, one before the Big 12 invite, and then 1 month later, after getting that Big 12 invite and adjusting to what was going to be the new landscape for BYU. I think BYU's done quite well in the early years of the Big 12, and now it's looking to become one of the top programs in the Big 12 and really go chase national championships. When you're talking about this sort of financial commitment of the reported $9 million a year to a coach, you're looking to win at the highest level. And, when getting recruiting classes like you did today, you get that over, 2 or 3 recruiting cycles paired up with transfer portal guys and having the resources in NIL and rev share, you're going to be in the mix to get some really talented football players, and that's going to give you a chance to, break through the ceiling and get into the playoff and do some big things.
You mentioned one of those players and those big names that BYU can now go out and get, and that's Ryder Lyons. Earlier in the day, it sounded like there was a potential for him not to sign today. It sounds like he did. What do you know about his situation, and did pen get to paper?
Yeah, it's official. Ryder's locked in, and he had a visit this past weekend to BYU. He had multiple visits. He's been pretty locked into BYU throughout the process, but with the Penn State situation and Kalani Sitake, that left a little uneasiness for pretty much this entire class, because these are recruits that could go to a lot of different places. BYU lands, 6 4-star prospects in this cycle, one of which is Lyons, who initially was a 5-star and is now a 4-star prospect. But he's got a huge arm. He's talented. But that uneasiness with Sitake, and the relationships that Lyons formed with places at Oregon, and, Will Stein goes to Kentucky, you probably have to listen to things, but ultimately BYU was the place for him, and he made it official at his high school in what was a lengthy press conference where his high school coach was taking the microphone. I'm like, let's let the players maybe speak here, but nonetheless, it's done now, and BYU still got 2 days with the early signing period, but right now they've got 19 signees and what's far and away the best class on paper in the Kalani Sitake era.
Well, I was talking about the Ryder Lyons situation and the flex that these guys have been. I watched a handful of 4- and 5-star guys who had their announcements today, and the announcement was they stood up and said, "I'm not signing today," and then everyone's like, "Ah!" And I'm like, this is the weirdest time we've ever been.
Flex.
It's such
weird
a
flex.
It is like the weirdest thing to watch these guys, because all they're saying is I'm open for business, right? Like, I mean, that's essentially what they're saying. I'm still, hey, keep the bidding war going. And now the early signing period, it's like now it's just become a time where people can go all the way up until February. I'm available for my agents and my family to be hit up. So it's a strange time, obviously, covering the sport. But when you talk about this, I went on another Lubbock radio station today, and I was talking to these guys about this actual matchup, and it hasn't fallen on. This is a same thing. They had McGuire get extended for 7 more years. Kalani's going to get extended for was it another 6? Is that what they ended up talking about from a time frame perspective? Did they say how long? I know that the money thing is not something that gets talked about, but how long is Kalani going to be signed up then for officially? Do we know?
They have not revealed that at all on that front, which again is kind of a new order for BYU. Used to be they'd always release at least the length of the time, but that's now fallen under the private matters of BYU as well now.
That's interesting. Well, either way, the folks in Lubbock are excited about Joey McGuire. Everybody's excited about Kalani here in Utah. If you're a BYU fan, what does it mean having a couple of those bigger names in these big programs who are playing in the title game to have their coaches extended? Obviously, places that really love having them.
Well, I think it's huge for the conference because you're going to expect it to have a sold-out crowd. It should be a great atmosphere, and you got 2 programs that I think could be the top programs in the league going forward, at least from a resources standpoint. And you got 2 coaches who are really likable, and I think these are guys that could really be the face of the Big 12 for a league that's desperate to really get those brands that just always get respected on an annual basis. Maybe they give them the best chance, and this could be the first sign of that maybe new look Big 12 and what could be one of the great matchups in this league. So I think it's going to be an awesome setting, and I think that these 2 coaches, I think they're the perfect fits too for what this modern landscape of college football looks like, where I think you get guys, they're able to retain their roster, and I think that's been a huge thing for Kalani Sitake, and you've seen it with Joey McGuire, because it started out slow for him with 7 and 8 win seasons. Kalani's had a lot of success retaining personnel, and if you can get guys from all walks of life, it just can't be return missionary BYU local guys. It has to be a wide net. You have to recruit national, and Kalani said as much, that they've always recruited national, but now it's you got to have a national view of the recruiting landscape. Definitely block off the state of Utah, but get players from that really can fit your program and then retain them. And if you get them at BYU, I think you got a great chance with Kalani and this staff with the stability that they've had and now will have going forward. It gives you a great chance to retain rosters, and that's kind of half the battle, because I think a lot of this movement is uneasiness that with the possibilities of just kind of almost resetting clocks, whether it's players or coaches, they're on the move to almost reset their timeline to get a little bit more, earning power for a few more years if they're feeling pressure at a certain school, whether it's, again, a player or a coach. So this BYU program seems to have a lot of stability right now, and that allows for a great situation to retain talent.
I think it's the most college football thing ever that we're talking about coaching movement, college football playoff rankings, controversies, and signing days during championship week.
When
we should be talking about the dang game.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about that dang game on Saturday. And it's interesting, Mitch, I don't think anybody outside of BYU's locker room gives them a chance on Saturday. They're big underdogs in this game. We saw what happened the first time around. How are things different on Saturday for BYU?
The key has got to be, I think, BYU's ability to get big plays through the air somehow, some way. They got to find an ability to. Bear Bachmeier's got to be able to, connect with the receivers and make some big plays happen. And maybe that's just short passes. And Kingston and Roberts, they show off that speed and can pop off a big one. And put BYU in a situation to have, a manageable, drive where it's only 3 plays, 75 yards, and you're scoring a touchdown because. I think L.J. Martin's, being healthy in this matchup compared to the first meeting in Lubbock, I think that gives reason for optimism too, because L.J. was banged up, and he even admitted as much that he wasn't fully confident in that shoulder. But I still, with how good Texas Tech's rush defense is, I think anything more than 90, 100 yards. I mean, if LJ could get to that, that's outstanding against this defense that barely gives up anything. If he could be in that territory, and then you pair it up with some big chunk yardage through the air, BYU might have a shot. I think if you're going to win this game, you got to get to maybe 20 points, 21 points somehow, some way. How do you get there? That's going to be challenging. It could be this first to 20 because I think BYU's defense will show up. I think they're going to play really well, and they'll have some additional personnel for this game. Guys like, Justin Kirkland in the interior of the defensive line, they'll be available to play. He's a guy that they're redshirting this year, but in the postseason, you can play these guys, and it doesn't count towards that total number of games allowed for a redshirt for. So these don't count. So you got a little bit more depth going into this game. I think BYU's defense will show up, and I think they'll be a little more stout stopping the run, potentially. I think these are the best running backs in the league in both sides of both of these teams with LJ Martin and Dickey. But, I think BYU's offense, if they can find a way to get to 21 points, they can have a shot and be kind of in that position to maybe pull that upset. But it's going to be tough because, I think this is the best defense that BYU has gone up against in the Kalani Sitake era, and I don't expect them to be anything different than what they look like in Lubbock. So BYU's offense has to be outstanding, and BYU's offensive line has got to give enough time to allow Bear to get off those passes quick, and then those receivers with that speed got to make some plays happen.
Mitch Harper, BYU insider for KSLSports.com. What's the difference between playing in Arlington and playing in Lubbock? I mean, a lot has been made about, what do they call the stadium? They just call it the Jones, right? Wasn't that what the one of the beat writers was telling us earlier? Yeah, over at the Jones. Not playing there, obviously, is a big deal. This is a sold-out game. It's the most expensive conference championship game ticket that's out there on the market right now between BYU and Texas Tech, and yet it's a two-touchdown difference between those two in the books. But my question for you is, what is this environment going to be like on Saturday, and then what exactly has to happen to be able to see this BYU fan base kind of not just show up because, obviously they want to have that there, but it's going to be one of the most I think it's a sold-out game, and it's going to be one of the most attended of any Big 12 championship game ever.
Definitely. I mean, I would expect that Texas Tech will probably outdraw BYU, but I'm sure BYU fans will have a strong showing. And I'm really curious to see how BYU as a team really comes out of the gates in this game, because I get the sense from this group after last night and this week that they are just there is a lot of momentum now that Kalani chose them again. And, he always wanted to be at BYU, but to turn down a blue blood like Penn State and to say, I want to coach you guys, I think that gives BYU a lot of momentum. Now, you still got to stop Romello Height and David Bailey and Texas Tech's Heisman candidate Jacob Rodriguez. That's going to be a tall task, but I get the sense that BYU is just going to show a lot better, and then it becomes, if they lost by a touchdown, you'd like to think that could maybe negate the anchoring down of their ranking in the playoff, because then they were a lot more competitive the second go round on a neutral field against one of the best teams in college football. And could that be enough to give them a bump? I think I already know the answer, but I'd like to live in a world where maybe there's a chance where there's something of an at-large path for BYU to get in this field. But I think it's going to be an amazing atmosphere, and I think it's a huge moment for the Big 12, because 2 years ago when they had Texas and Oklahoma State, that was a massive crowd, but it was basically just Texas. And then last year, first year of the 16-team era, it was a ghost town in AT&T Stadium. You're thinking, man, this new look Big 12, it is a shell of its old self without Texas and OU. So this just says, hey, Texas and OU, you're gone, but things are still good in the Big 12. There's still passionate fan bases that are ready to pony up big prices to fill up an NFL stadium that is, world renowned, like Jerry's World. I mean, that kind of reset the whole market of what stadiums are in today's professional landscape, and to sell that thing out is huge. So I think from an optics standpoint, it's great for the Big 12 that, hey, this is big-time football played in this league, even though the powers that be in the sport want to put them down. a big game, and it's for BYU especially. It's probably the biggest in definitely the Kalani era, and I'd say maybe in the 21st century. And I think it's massive for Texas Tech too. It's their first conference championship game, so it's a huge game.
Mitch Harper, BYU insider for KSLSports.com. When do you go down to Arlington, Mitch?
Leaving tomorrow, and then Friday there'll be some BYU Fan Fest and some other Big 12 events and things like that, and then getting ready for the game, and we'll have a pregame show on Friday night on News Radio, so it's going to be a busy weekend in Texas.
Love it, Mitch. Thanks for your coverage, as always. Thanks for coming on the program. We safe travels down there. We're looking forward to hearing from you down there.
You bet, guys. Take care.
There you go, Mitch Harper.
He's going to get some barbecue without me.
He's cheating on you barbecue-wise?
Oh, yeah, he is.
He's going to get some barbecue
Him
without
and Sam
me.
Farnsworth are going to grub out, and I'm
You're
going
disappointed
to be
about
jealous.
it.
Yeah.
They'll probably hit up Hurtado's.
Hurtado's is amazing.
It's legit.
A Mexican flair with the barbecue.
So good that we sat through 110.
Kick and spice.
We sat through 110 degrees with no air conditioning in that
with
place.
With the meat sweats.
With the meat sweats.
No problem with that.
It was phenomenal. So if you could tell anything about JJ and I, we like food, and we like to talk about food.